And if there are lots of cuts elsewhere, then there is no need for extra cuts on you. So we still hear groups regularly arguing for more spending on their favoured area. And indeed, we can see the government doing this right now. Yesterday, our Education Secretary called for more money for schools, while today's Queen's speech is setting out a pledge to expand care for the elderly, as well at the same time as making a pledge to halve the deficit. The only question I would ask is how they think they can actually achieve that. And I think the end result of this could be something like California, where the state seems to be virtually bankrupt and unable to get its voters to support the tough choices that are necessary. If all this sounds like doom and gloom, it needn't be. People may not want to allow themselves to be made worse off, but neither do they want their children paying high levels of debt interest for years and decades to come. And reducing borrowing in the short term will help to safeguard public expenditure in the long term, and there are positive examples to back up this point. One of the best recent examples of a rapid and durable fiscal consolidation is in Canada. The story's been told before, but it's worth briefly telling it again. Canada's budget deficit in the early 1990s was threatening to get out of control. In 1992, it reached a high of over 9% of GDP. Just 5 years later, the country was recording a budget surplus, and it continued to run surpluses almost every year up to the current global economic crisis. Over that 5-year period, the deficit was closed almost exclusively by spending restraint, which supported a strong rebound in economic growth. Spending fell by 9 percentage points of GDP during that period, while the tax burden hardly shifted. And Canadians achieved this by setting up a process called programme review that required departments to identify a long list of programmes and activities to cut or to transfer out of central government. The results of programme review was that federal departmental budgets were reduced by 20% on average within 4 years. And these cuts meant that, despite other areas of spending rising during that period, total federal, provincial and local spending, so the whole lot, was roughly frozen in cash terms for 4 years, and that represents a sizable real terms reduction. I think in the UK, with debt interest payments going up and unemployment benefit spending still rising, departments are going to have to think about making savings of a similar order of magnitude to those the Canadians managed to achieve. This is undoubtedly tough, but look at how successful Canada is now. No one is arguing today that Canadian public services are woefully underfunded, as was arguably true of Britain in the late 1990s. I think Canada is a very positive example that should give encouragement to people in government over here.